Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The year is 1874. Philadelphia basked under the sweltering heat of a July sun. The air, thick with humidity, carried the scent of coal smoke. Cobblestone streets echoed with the sounds of a city on the cusp of a new era. Yet beneath the progress, a sinister undercurrent stirred. Amidst emerging industries, a sense of unease pervaded. Whispers of disappearances spread like wildfire. Newspapers printed lurid accounts of shadowy figures. Fear began to infect the hearts of city dwellers. Children found their movements restricted. The innocence of childhood hung precariously in the balance. A sense of dread settled over Philadelphia. The city seemed oblivious to the impending tragedy. On July 1, 1874, an event would shatter the tranquility of a seemingly ordinary summer day. In a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood resided the Ross family. Christian Ross, a businessman, and his wife Sarah, had 4 children: Walter, Charlie, and their 2 sisters. The Ross children were the embodiment of youthful exuberance. Their days were filled with simple joys, games of tag in the park, adventures in the nearby woods, and evenings spent listening to their mother read stories by lamplight. Charlie, a bright 4-year-old with golden curls, was the darling of the family. His days were a whirlwind of energy and curiosity. Walter, at 6, was protective of his younger brother. He was his constant companion in all matters of childhood mischief. Together, they were inseparable, their bond unbreakable. The Ross household was filled with warmth and comforting routines. Christian and Sarah instilled in their children the importance of honesty, hard work, and respect. Little did they know that these virtues would contribute to the tragic events that were about to unfold. They had taught their children to be trusting, unaware of the dangers outside their home. The sun beat down mercilessly on the cobblestone streets, casting long shadows that danced with the flickering flames of gaslights. The air, thick and heavy with the smell of horses and dust, hung oppressive and still. It was the afternoon of July 1, 1874, a day that would forever be etched in the annals of Philadelphia's history. Charlie and Walter, oblivious to the impending darkness, were engrossed in a game of marbles on the sidewalk in front of their home. Their laughter, carefree and innocent, mingled with the sounds of the street, a symphony of childhood joy. As they played, a sleek black carriage drawn by a pair of magnificent horses slowly approached. The carriage came to a halt near the curb, its occupants hidden from view by the high, polished sides. The driver, a burly man with a thick mustache and a gruff demeanor, remained in his seat, his eyes scanning the street with an air of detached indifference. From within the carriage, 2 men emerged, their faces obscured by the shadows. The 2 men, their faces visible in the dappled sunlight, presented a study in contrasts. The first, tall and slender, exuded charm. His companion, shorter and stockier, seemed ill at ease. Approaching the boys, the taller man smiled disarmingly. "Good afternoon, boys," he began. "It seems you're having quite a game of marbles." Charlie looked up, curious. Walter remained wary, clutching his marbles. The tall stranger produced candies, their wrappers glinting. "Would you boys care for a treat?" he asked. Charlie's eyes widened at the sight of the candies. Walter quickly intervened, gripping his brother's arm. "Mama told us not to take candy from strangers," he declared. The man chuckled. "Your mama is wise, but we're friends of your father's." Walter hesitated. Something didn't ring true. The allure of the fireworks proved too tempting for young Charlie to resist. Tugging at his brother's sleeve, he pleaded, "Please, Walter, it'll be fun!" Walter reluctantly agreed. The men ushered the boys into the back of the carriage. Walter couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake. He looked back at their house, now shrinking into the distance. The carriage rattled down the cobblestone streets. The air grew thick with the stench of tanneries and factories. The carriage slowed to a stop on a deserted side street near the docks. The tall stranger turned to Walter, a thin smile playing on his lips. "Why don't you run to that store over there and buy yourself some candy with this?" he said, pressing a coin into Walter's hand. "We'll wait here with your brother." Walter hesitated, his heart pounding. The stranger's words left no room for argument. "Don't be long," the man added. "We wouldn't want to keep your father waiting." Walter climbed out of the carriage, eyes on the shadowy figures inside the store. He purchased candy, his fingers trembling. The carriage was gone. Panic surged through him. He called out for Charlie, but there was no answer. Charlie was gone. A desperate search, racing against the setting sun. Walter stood frozen, the coin clutched tightly in his sweaty hand. The gravity of the situation pressed down on him. His heart hammered in his chest. He ran. He ran back towards the bustling heart of the city. He darted in and out of shops, calling Charlie's name. The sun cast long, menacing shadows. Each passerby offered a flicker of hope. He searched, desperately, replaying the events. The stranger's smile, the allure of the fireworks, all part of a sinister plot. As twilight deepened, painting the sky in hues of purple and orange, Walter found himself back on his own street, the familiarity of his surroundings a painful reminder of what he had lost. The sight of his house, its windows glowing with warm, inviting light, brought fresh tears to his eyes. He stood there for a long moment, his hand hovering over the wrought iron gate, fear a lead weight in his stomach. The happy sounds of his family, once a source of comfort, now mocked him with their normalcy, a stark contrast to the storm raging within him. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the gate and walked slowly towards the house, each step heavier than the last. The weight of his secret, the knowledge that he had failed to protect his little brother, threatened to crush him. He entered the house quietly, hoping to slip in unnoticed, but his mother, her face etched with worry, met him in the hallway. "Walter, where have you been?" she asked, her voice sharp with concern. "We've been worried sick." Walter, unable to bear the weight of his secret any longer, burst into tears, the words tumbling out in a torrent of guilt and fear. He told his parents everything: the carriage, the strangers, the candy, the fireworks, the coin, the empty street. His words, disjointed and laced with sobs, painted a picture of unimaginable horror. Section 4, A Mother's Anguish, the Agony of Uncertainty. Sarah Ross clung to her husband, her tears a silent testament to a mother's worst nightmare. Her home, once filled with laughter, now felt cold and empty. She wandered, touching Charlie's toys, each a reminder of the life stolen. The rocking horse stood frozen, its eyes staring blankly. A half-finished drawing lay abandoned, vibrant colors contrasting the despair. The world outside turned, oblivious to her pain. The ticking clock amplified the silence, each tick a painful reminder. As darkness fell, Sarah sought solace in her son's room. She sank beside his bed, her tears falling silently. Section 1. The Ransom Note, a Chilling Demand. Days turned into an agonizing blur for the Ross family. The silence from Charlie's abductors was deafening. The police investigation yielded no significant leads. Then, a letter arrived. Sarah Ross accepted the letter with trembling hands. The address sent a shiver down her spine. Her heart pounded as she turned the envelope. Christian took the letter from his wife's hands. He carefully broke the seal. As he read, a cold feeling spread through his veins. The letter was brief and terrifying. The kidnappers demanded $20,000 for Charlie's return. The sum was more than the family could raise. The note ended with a chilling warning. Section 2. To Pay or Not to Pay, a Family Torn. The ransom note plunged the Ross family into despair and indecision. The demand threatened to crush them. Christian was humiliated by his inability to meet the demands. His business could not withstand such a loss. Sarah clung to hope, praying for Charlie's safe return. She spent hours on her knees pleading. Walter blamed himself for Charlie's abduction. The family was fractured by grief and guilt. They argued, cried, and prayed. The question remained, to pay or not to pay. It was a decision that would haunt them. The Ross family's plight, initially a private matter, quickly became a public spectacle. The newspapers, hungry for sensational stories, seized upon the kidnapping with a fervor that bordered on the grotesque. Headlines screamed from newsstands, each more lurid than the last. turning Charlie's abduction into a macabre form of entertainment. Reporters camped outside the Ross home, their relentless questions and intrusive cameras adding to the family's torment. The public, both captivated and horrified by the story, offered a mixture of sympathy and suspicion. Some, their hearts touched by the family's plight, organized fundraisers and prayer vigils, hoping to raise enough money to meet the ransom demand. Others, their judgment clouded by fear and speculation, whispered that the kidnapping was an elaborate hoax, a desperate attempt by the family to escape financial ruin. The constant scrutiny, the whispers, the accusations took a heavy toll on the already fragile emotional state of the Ross family. They were trapped in a nightmare of their own making, their lives dissected and debated in the public square, their grief laid bare for all to see. As weeks turned into months, and the trail for Charlie grew colder, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected quarter. The Pinkerton National Detective Agency, renowned for its investigative prowess and its success in solving high-profile cases, took an interest in the Charlie Ross kidnapping. Led by the legendary Alan Pinkerton himself, the agency assigned its best detectives to the case, determined to bring the perpetrators to justice. The Pinkertons, unlike the local police, had the resources and the reach to conduct a nationwide investigation. They interviewed witnesses, followed up on leads, and circulated wanted posters with Charlie's likeness far and wide. They infiltrated the city's underworld, seeking information from informants and criminals, hoping to uncover any shred of evidence that might lead them to the missing boy. The involvement of the Pinkertons, though a source of hope for the Ross family, also brought with it a renewed sense of urgency and pressure. The agency's reputation rested on its ability to solve cases, and the eyes of the nation were now firmly fixed on their every move. The disappearance of Charlie Ross struck a chord far beyond Philadelphia. Newspapers across the country were captivated by the young boy's plight. Charlie's story tapped into a wellspring of fear and empathy. Parents clung tighter to their children, warning them of lurking dangers. Charlie's face stared out from wanted posters on every surface. His story became a shared national nightmare. The outpouring of support for the Ross family was overwhelming. Strangers sent letters, offered prayers, and donated to the reward fund. The case had become a national obsession. Section 2. False Leads and Dead Ends. The frustrating search for Charlie Ross. Despite nationwide attention, the search for Charlie Ross was frustrating. Each day brought new tips, but they crumbled under scrutiny. Witnesses offered conflicting accounts, some claiming to see Charlie with a woman, others on a train. The Pinkertons pursued every lead, but the trail grew colder each day. Section 3. Whispers in the dark, the shifting sands of suspicion. As months turned into years, and Charlie Ross remained missing, the initial outpouring of sympathy for the Ross family began to wane, replaced by a more insidious, emotion suspicion. The public, weary of the unresolved case and hungry for answers, began to question the family's role in the kidnapping. Rumors, fueled by the irresponsible speculation of some newspapers, spread like wildfire through the city's streets and parlors. Some whispered that the kidnapping was a hoax, an elaborate scheme concocted by the family to escape financial ruin or to gain notoriety. Others, their imaginations running wild with outlandish theories, suggested that the family itself was responsible for Charlie's disappearance, their motives ranging from the tragically misguided to the downright sinister. The police, though officially maintaining their stance that the Ross family were the victims in this tragic affair, began to conduct their investigation with a renewed sense of scrutiny, their questions taking on a sharper, more accusatory tone. The weight of suspicion, a heavy cloak of doubt and innuendo settled over the Ross family, compounding their grief with an unbearable sense of injustice. Section 4. The long wait, hope endures, amidst the shadows. Despite the relentless scrutiny, the whispers, and the fading hope, the Ross family refused to give up on Charlie. Christian, his hair now streaked with gray, his once thriving business reduced to a shadow of its former self, poured his remaining resources into the search for his son. He traveled extensively, following up on leads, interviewing witnesses, and offering a substantial reward for any information leading to Charlie's safe return. Sarah, her spirit nearly broken by years of agonizing uncertainty, found solace in her faith and in the unwavering belief that her son was still alive, somewhere out there, waiting to be found. She kept Charlie's room untouched, his toys carefully arranged, his clothes neatly folded in his dresser drawers, a shrine to the son she refused to believe was gone forever. The passage of time, while dimming the memories of that fateful summer day for some, only served to deepen the Ross family's resolve. They clung to the hope, however faint, that one day, their Charlie would come home. Years drifted by, each season a painful cycle of hope and despair for the Ross family. The public's interest in Charlie's case had long since waned, yet, within the Ross home, hope refused to be extinguished. In December 1874, a distant event breathed new life into the case. In New York City, two criminals, Mosher and Douglas, botched a burglary. Their target was a wealthy merchant's townhouse. Their plans unraveled with the homeowner's arrival. A struggle ensued, shots rang out and both men were wounded. They were apprehended and taken to a hospital. Their escapade would intersect with the Ross family's tragedy. Mosher, dying, harbored a confession that would reawaken a forgotten tragedy. As Mosher lay on his sickbed, his life slipping away, he called for a priest, seeking solace and forgiveness. Mosher confessed to the kidnapping of Charlie Ross. He revealed he and Joseph Douglas lured the boy with candy. Detectives rushed to his bedside, hoping for a breakthrough. Section 3. The trail runs cold. Douglas's silence seals Charlie's fate. News of Mosher's confession spread, igniting hope. The Ross family clung to hope for answers. Newspapers resurrected Charlie's story. Hope flickered and faded. Mosher could offer no further details. He claimed Douglas held the key. Douglas remained silent. Despite pleas, Douglas refused to break his silence. With Douglas's death, the trail went cold. The mystery of Charlie Ross's fate remains unsolved. Section 4. A legacy of loss. The unanswered questions linger. The deathbed confession of William Mosher, while providing a long-awaited confirmation of the kidnappers' identities, ultimately did little to ease the Ross family's pain or bring closure to their ordeal. The question that had haunted them for years, what had become of their beloved Charlie, remained unanswered, a gaping wound that refused to heal. The knowledge that the men responsible for their son's disappearance had been identified, that their faces had been plastered on wanted posters across the nation, provided a measure of cold comfort, a bittersweet victory in the face of an overwhelming loss. The thought that Charlie might still be alive, held captive somewhere, continued to torment them, a cruel hope that refused to die. The case of Charlie Ross, though officially closed, cast a long shadow over the nation, its echoes reverberating through the years. It served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of childhood, the limits of justice, and the enduring power of hope in the face of unimaginable loss. Section 1. A Nation Transformed. The Enduring Legacy of Charlie Ross. The tragic tale of Charlie Ross left an indelible mark on American society, awakening a chilling new reality about child safety. The abduction became a catalyst for social change, heightening awareness of children's vulnerability. Parents clung tighter to their children, whispers of "don't talk to strangers" taking on new urgency. The seeds of stranger danger were sown, and law enforcement techniques advanced. The public's vigilance became a testament to community power in the face of tragedy. Section 2. Echoes in the Silence. Remembering Charlie, a symbol of innocence lost. Over 150 years have passed since Charlie Ross vanished from Philadelphia. His story, a haunting reminder of innocence lost, continues to resonate. The house where Charlie once played still stands, a silent sentinel to a bygone era. His name, etched on a weathered headstone, serves as a poignant reminder of a life cut short. Though his fate remains a mystery, his legacy lives on, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit.